What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you again for tuning in. Welcome back to Ghost One More Mod. Today, I am excited to do a relatively simple mod that is going to increase the authenticity once again to my Proton Pack, and that is upgrading to a much more realistic heatsink. However, I always like to do in a couple of my videos, maybe do a mod stacked on top of a mod, and that is what I'm doing today, so let's get going. So let me show you the two things that I'm going to attempt to be putting on today, and they can serve multiple purposes. So the first thing is I want to upgrade the stock heatsink, the stock Haslab heatsink, to a heatsink that was made by a member, very popular on the Ghostbuster forums, especially the Haslab Proton Pack modders forum. I want to make sure that I hopefully pronounce his name correctly. Giasone J Torres. Every once in a while we'll release a batch of these. This is incredibly authentic. Although I think the heatsink itself is probably 3D printed, everything around it and in between it is actually real. So the copper right here is actually like real copper wiring, and really this part right here in the middle, the chip, is actually a real L7805 positive voltage regulator chip, which I thought is really cool and seems to like be hot glued in the middle there. So real parts integrated with the 3D printed part, and the price was fairly reasonable. I want to say it was like $50-ish. So funny story, I originally got this and I actually ended up having two. Reason being is he sent one, and when I got it, I don't even know if it's going to show up on camera. Maybe I was nitpicking. It was so subtle. But one of these wires was the copper wire wasn't fully seated in, and I just reached back out and I was like, hey, is that supposed to be like that? And very, very quick to reply, cool, considerate, and was just like, no, completely sorry. Sometimes that happens either during shipping or during like the cooling down process. I'll ship another one out to you in a couple days, and it arrived in a couple days. So I have two. I told him that I would be doing a video of this. I'm incredibly grateful, and I am not going to sell this. I'm not going to try to flip it and make $1. I'm going to pay it forward, and I'm going to give this to someone. I'm going to maybe do a giveaway and give this to someone who is not nitpicky. And now that I'm looking back on it, this probably even looks more Afterlife-ish because it's like not perfect. It's a little bit imperfect, which is the entire Afterlife Proton Pack. So I really don't know why I nitpick. It is the most minor thing. So, but thank you again for sending another one out. And as promised, I'm going to give this to another fan who can appreciate it and will absolutely love this versus the stock Haslab one. So what is the second part I'm talking about? This is just a very simple, thin piece of plastic. This was off an actual Etsy shop. And there are a couple reasons why you might want to do this, and I'm going to be on the latter. So this is from the Etsy shop Pro Design by J Ream, and all this is when you remove the stock Haslab heatsink, there will be a little bit of a cavity that is left. So someone who might be interested in actually converting their Afterlife pack to a 84 pack, this will save them a lot of time than having to fill and sand and paint and fill some more sand and paint to get that cavity nice and smooth. This is something that you can get and plop in, and you'll have to do a lot less filling and sanding. So this kind of saves a step in that if you're wanting to just have that smoother look, more of a 1984 Proton Pack. However, there are some OCD people, and I would fall into that category, where if this doesn't exactly fill up everything, you know, from weird angles, and you might see a little bit of a hole or a cavity, they get this in addition to the upgraded heatsink, put this behind where the cavity is, and that way maybe perhaps from any angle you won't see any type of gap or cavity. So the Proton Pack, I don't know if you can see behind me, is pretty much already taken apart because I'm doing multiple things where the Proton Pack needs to be apart. I feel like it's been apart more than it has been put together at this point. I bet. I'm pretty positive. Anyway, so if you need reference material on opening the Proton Pack, go see one of those 2 previous videos I mentioned before. Typically before I shoot a video, I want to pull up the name of an Etsy shop or the name of a person who made a product and give them a shout out. And when I wanted to reference this, because I purchased things very well in the past and sometimes I forget who made this. When I looked up on the Etsy shop that it was pro-designed by J Ream, it actually ended up being this exact same Etsy shop that I bought the Ion Arm end cap faceplate that I don't believe I mentioned or name dropped in that video a long time ago about 3 easy mods. So funny thing enough, sometimes I buy things from the same Etsy shop multiple times and I don't even realize it. So anyway, here's your shout out and thanks for making this. Other than that, let me show you how to more easily upgrade to an 84 style pack or to a more realistic heatsink Afterlife style. Let's go. All right, before you begin to install either one or both of these pieces, a couple things you will need for this. This is a simple Phillips screwdriver, and that is just to get the screws out to get the motherboard off. You'll want a pair of snips. It sounds weird, but I will explain to you and a reason why. I just have to cut very, very, very minor plastic. It seems completely unnecessary, but I feel like these will come in handy. And then the most key thing of all is going to be a right angle ratchet screwdriver. And make sure, I'll leave a link in the description below for the one I'm using, but make sure you get one that has a couple different bits because you'll just want to make sure that you have the proper one for the one single screw that holds into the heat shield. It is just one screw, and this is going to be the thing you need because space is a premium, and I have not found a way to get rid of that with a normal screwdriver other than this guy. So going to skip the magical part of removing the motherboard, and this will be off in a moment. And voila, motherboard is off. So there is the heat shield there, and the screw that we are wanting to remove is just that single one right there. It might be a little difficult. So as I said, why do we need snips? What are we really snipping? I wish I could tell you what the purpose is. It might be a little difficult to see. There is like random, and maybe some other experts smarter than me can tell me what these 3 little nubs are. They are like in random places on the pack that serve no purpose. I know this is kind of random to the other video, but here is the stock battery compartment. What is the purpose of these 3 nubs right there? I don't know if they're coming through, but there's like 3 nubs right there. I don't know what purpose they serve. Oh yeah, oh, there's like 4, like right here. What are these things for? Right there, right there. But when we get a screwdriver in there, at first it looks like it clears it. But as you back it out, then you start to hit that. So we're going to want to just snip these off. I have no idea why they're there. That was a good shot there for a second. I have no idea why they're there, but let's just trim them down and then we'll be able to get that screw out. These are not very thick at all, and with a good pair of snips, they come out with pretty much no resistance at all. It looks like I just got 3 of the 4. I missed the first one. So, like I said, all it's doing is giving us clearance for our ratchet screwdriver. There we go. And now we should be able to remove this one screw. Finally got to a point where the ratchet didn't have enough torque on it, so I just took the bit off. And I think, there we go. You'll see that there is a tab right there. There is a tab right there. And there is a tab on the bottom, 1, 2, and 3. And so let me get my screw out before I lose that. And we should just be able to push. Where's that third one? There we go. And that is our stock heatsink off the Haslab. It's nice that they even did it. It would be a little bit of an omission if they like excluded it, but it is just a small detail and they did include it, so props to them. But when you take this and you compare it, when you do a side-by-side comparison to this, I mean, this just stands out. And you can see that these, what were supposed to be screws, are basically just plastic dimples, really. Just a mold. Where actually we do have real hardware, and I need to get that because I'm gonna put in one screw first, and then we're gonna have to just drill 2 new holes for the other actual 3 real screws. So here is a great side shot of with the stock heatsink removed. So it looks like I'm gonna have to use my snips to kind of trim this down and get this flush. That's what you would definitely want to do if you wanted to insert this 3D printed piece to get a nice flush look. Otherwise, it appears that it might just kind of protrude out. So I'm gonna do that anyway, make sure this gets nice and flat. And then when it comes time to install this, this will be nice and flat as well. And I think I've said in probably 400 other videos about having an incredible pair of flush cutter snips. And these are my favorite pair. It has saved me so much time from actually having to break out a Dremel because they are so precise and sharp and exact. So that was it was very painless. So now that's out of the way, let's see if this guy just goes in as such. Let's see, put that there, put that there. All right, so that kind of just snaps in. I found the best way to do it is don't worry about this top notch, just worry about the left and right notch. You're just gonna kind of concave it a little bit, get the left notch and right notch in, and then this just kind of sits flush. But that kind of goes in, this kind of goes in, that just kind of sits on top. So that's what that is. That would kind of give you a much smoother look. That way, if you wanted to do your own painting or filling or anything like that, you've done a lot less work with this little cap if you wanted to go for the 84 conversion look. But now I'm gonna go and get the heatsink and we're gonna lay that over top and see. I can tell, oh, I have it upside down, sorry. The 2 are on the top, the 1 is on the bottom. So, just gonna line that up. So what I've done best before I drill my holes is I lined it up perfectly symmetrical where you wouldn't see any of the cover or cap on the top or the bottom or the back or the front, and I'm taping that down so as I drill, or maybe I'll even I don't know if I want to get like a marker or a pencil and just kind of mark that, but I feel like this is pretty good. I'm going to start out with a smaller drill bit first as a pilot hole. I can safely say that there is clearance. Obviously this wire is out of the way. So everything looks good. I'm ready to drill all the way through. And if it's not wide enough, then I will step up to that bigger bit. So just a heads up, I'll probably be stopping this video for tonight. I did have to end up stepping up to a 1/8 drill bit to get it wide enough for these screws. But when I took this cover off, I noticed how close these outer screw holes are to the stock cavity, and I am actually a little concerned about possibly puncturing through and really widening that out and breaking through that wall. Like that is, there's very little there and very little there. So I'm going to be really counting on this 3D piece that I didn't think it would be that crucial to me. This was mainly just a shout out to someone who maybe wanted to do a 84 conversion, or someone who didn't want to see a gap. But now you can see like the difference between how close I am to there versus that. Like it doesn't look like much, but you can see like there is almost nothing. Where my thumb is, it looks like I have about 1/4 of an inch, and that is like 1/16 of an inch. So I think I'm going to be really relying on this 3D piece of plastic more than I thought. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some super glue, put some super glue on the back of this, put this back on one final time, and let this dry overnight, and then I'll put the heatsink on. So I'm going to go do that now. And I'm not sure if I showed this earlier in, but there is a textured part and a smooth part. I think it's safe to say the smooth part would go on the outside of the pack. So this textured part, which is kind of more of like the 3D printed side, is where I'm going to be applying a little bit of this. This is Gorilla Glue, but essentially the same thing. Okay. Alright, it's been a good 12 plus hours since I've glued this on. I'm actually surprised how grateful I am to have this, because as I pointed out, the outer holes were very close to that open gap, and I'm kinda afraid that if I didn't have this piece, that would have just kind of cracked open and split that wall. So I'm really now heavily relying on this 3D printed piece. So at this point, I did go to source my own hardware kit. I've used this in other. I think I'm actually going to use a nut and a washer on the back side of this. So in addition with the stock Allen bolt that came with the heatsink, I am going to use a nut and a washer, and probably go overkill and do Loctite. I don't foresee this is something I'm ever going to have to take off, but if I can, I'm going to use Loctite Blue so that if I do have to get it off, I will be able to. It's just this is something that will not rattle loose. So I'm going to put the heatsink on now. So you can see that's screw 1, screw 2, and there's screw 3. I'm gonna forego the washer. I don't think I need that. I think there's just enough thread here for me to put the bolt on. I'm gonna do a little dab of Loctite just to make sure it doesn't back out. Here you go, this is what we came from, and this is what we ended up with. I am really happy with just the overall upgrade authenticity, and I didn't think that little piece of 3D plastic was going to be a saving grace, but I feel a lot better that it's on there much more secure with all 3 screws biting, and the fact that from no angle now do you see any type of cavity. Even from like the top looking down below, you can't see anything. From the front, in between the vents on the heatsink, or on the bottom underneath, there is no gap. So I think that looked out. I mean, just the subtle details of getting that like copper tubing, the actual L7805 voltage regulator chip, and the fact that the set screws are the right size. Got a little bit more pop of detail on that side of the pack, and yeah, I think it is a nice change from where we came from. That turned out so good. And what's funny is that this video was gonna kind of be a either or. If you want to upgrade to Afterlife, get this heatsink, or if you want to convert it to an 84, get that 3D printed piece of material. And I ended up using both, and I'm glad I did. So I feel really good about that. This is what we came from. This is the upgraded heatsink that I got, and as I said earlier in the video, I'm gonna pay it forward. I wanna give this away. So anyone in my local Ghostbusters group, if you name drop our group into the comments, first person to do so, I am giving this to you for free. I'll be doing other giveaways in the future. There are some things that I bought 2 of, and I will be giving one away as well. So pay attention. I'll be giving some things away, including some things for future 2 in the box stuff too. So stay tuned. If you enjoyed today's video, please give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions about the install, let me know. And if you haven't done it already, please subscribe. Catch you guys next time. Out.